Hi, Tommy Robinson, Keir Starmer, and Sadiq Khan. There's something significant worth noting about these three people, and which was brought into stark relief given Tommy Robinson's recent arrest. It tells a whole story about what has gone wrong with the UK. So Tommy was in London on the tube, I'm sure you know, around St Pancras, minding his own business alone, having given a talk when he was harassed and confronted and threatened by a drunk, up to the point where he had no option but to defend himself. To be arrested for defending yourself shows the topsy-turvy world we now live in. And of course, the mainstream media spun it on a necklace of lies to suggest it was Tommy who was the thuggish aggressor and the real attacker was a poor innocent victim. All tosh, as most thinking people know. But here's the point. As we know, and he knows better than anyone, Tommy is a marked man. The political class, the establishment, the media, mainstream media, the wokes, the so-called liberals, who are anything but the radical Islamists, want him persecuted, imprisoned, disappeared, preferably dead. And it's a full-time occupation for many mainstream hacks and hideous organisations like Hope Not Hate, which is really Hate Not Hope. He's had death threats, car fire bombs, lost his business, his home, endured divorce in order to protect his family. Most people would crumble. Most people would have a complete breakdown. Most people would give up. Some would commit suicide. His life is a roller coaster of threats, prison, punishments, insults, harassments, lies, and propaganda. They want him dead, and he knows it. But he also has incredible support. And what does he do? He carries on exposing lies and hypocrisy and corruption, and also walks about in plain sight on his own. No security, no police, no bodyguards, no pepper sprays, just him, knowing that the hideous, misinformed forces of darkness are hungry to devour him. So that shows that he has courage, tenacity, and a sense of purpose that will not be downtrodden or intimidated. And he now knows, of course, that he can't continue to go about alone in public because, in a sense, it's playing into the hands of the establishment because whatever happens, he will be blamed. So he's between a rock and a hard place. But compare that, a man who has suffered a great deal, going about alone and unprotected in what is now one of the most dangerous cities in Europe. Compare that to Starmer and Khan. Sadiq Khan, midget troll of the metropolis. When he goes walkabout, it's like watching a third world dictator parading with a thicket of police and security guards, probably armed, walkie-talkies, tasers and handcuffs and truncheons at the ready, to beat to the ground and arrest any innocent bystander who might want to approach Khan and ask why knife crimes are going through the roof. Because he's so small, you often can't see him for the security entourage surrounding him. He's an invisible full stop in the centre of a small army. Starmer too, whenever in public, surrounded by security and police ready to pounce on anyone and get them banged up for asking questions. For all we know, his bed might be surrounded by paramilitary, gun-toting goons to protect him from bad dreams. Perhaps of a suicidal farmer or a pensioner fresh from jail for a harmless Facebook message. Starmer also goes on yet another freebie to the hospitality seats at the Arsenal, the Prawn Sandwich Brigade, and rather than actually pay for a ticket and sit with real supporters. And his justification for this is that if he did sit with supporters, taxpayers would have to foot an even bigger security bill. Why? Why shouldn't he pay for seats? And why can't he pay for security if he thinks he is so important and so in danger from ordinary UK citizens? Even Rishi Sunak sat among ordinary supporters. Thank God for football crowds which can sing "Keir is a punt," rhyming slang there, or protesting crowds who can shout "Starmer is a banker," rhyming slang again. You can't arrest a whole football crowd, Starmer, though it wouldn't surprise me if you introduce a new law to try and just do that. So these two, Khan and Starmer, hide behind a security ring that costs us, the taxpayers, a small fortune, and they are frightened of their own people. They insist on being protected from their own people, us. They are running scared of the very people that they are meant to be protecting. And they see us as the enemy. That's the only sensible conclusion that you can reach. So we have one brave man, Tommy Robinson, who goes about solo in public despite knowing he's targeted by many for spurious reasons, and is still, after all he has endured, willing to see any potential stranger as a fellow citizen, even a friend. And two cowards, Khan and Starmer, who are scared of their own shadows and scared of the people they should be protecting. Quite honestly, Khan and Starmer, neither of you are interesting enough for anyone to harm you. We just want you gone. Starmer is the school swat, the sneaky, smirking kid who holds the coat of the bully while he beats up some poor, innocent kid. And Khan is the oily little creature who lies and connives his way into the body politic and then feeds on it for his own gain. These are two men, to repeat, who are frightened of their own people. Worse, they see their own people as enemies. Otherwise, why surround yourself with a private army? If we are their enemy, then by definition, they are ours, and we need to protect ourselves against those very leaders failing to fulfill their obligations and duty of service to us, their employers. When so-called leaders run scared of their own people, it shows they are incapable of government and leadership. I suggest we replace both of them with Tommy Robinson. But there's a deeper level to this. By walking alone, given the daily threats to him, Tommy Robinson was embodying the virtues of courage and self-reliance, which are necessary to any healthy and robust value system in a culture. On the other hand, Starmer and Khan, cocooned behind the barrier of security people, display a complete absence of courage and self-reliance. Rather, they display neurosis, a fear of life, a fear of others, a fear of reality, and an inability to take responsibility for themselves in the moment. They are walking displays of moral collapse, personal failure, and neurotic fear. I wrote a ballad about Tommy Robinson a while back, and I put a link to it below. If you like it, do please share. Years ago, I met Tony Benn when he was giving a talk. I didn't agree with all his politics, but I think he was a great parliamentarian. He had an amazing grasp of history and factual detail, and he could smell a rat. He knew the invasion of Iraq was about oil and regime change, not about some imaginary threat of WMDs. And at the talk where I was present, he said no politician should have police escorts or security guards when they go about their business in public, because that would be to say that their lives are more important than other people's, and they're not. Also, someone asked Ben which was the worst prime minister in his lifetime, and people started whispering, oh, it's going to be Margaret Thatcher. And he said, people think I'm going to say Margaret Thatcher, but I'm not. You knew where you were with her. She did what she said she would do. She was straight. The worst PM by far in my long career is Tony Blair, because he didn't know himself what he thinks until he gets up, reads the papers, consults with focus groups, talks to the hideous Alastair Campbell, and then he invents his principles for the day. You never knew where you were with him because he never knew himself. If you like, do please share and subscribe, and please look at the links below. And thanks for all your kind messages. I do read them all, and I put links to other videos about Tommy Robinson. Thank you.